Evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. We are going to wait a few more minutes just to see who we have that is jumping on board, and then we're going to get started.
Perfect. I know late night everybody's trickling in almost the holiday. This time in a week, it's Thanksgiving.
I know, right? I'm so
It's
excited.
I know it always sneaks up on me. It's but here
Mhm.
before you know it.
It does. Can you see in your end who's there in or who's not?
Yeah, I can see everybody trickling in. Yep, yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to maybe start in 3 minutes just so everybody who's here on
Yeah.
time will be able to.
Yeah, we have a decent amount of people here, so I can imagine. I know there might be a few more coming.
I have a couple people that are requesting to record, but we're going to do our own recording and then we will share that. I think we're going to go ahead and start.
Yeah, good
Looks like
idea. I like
we
it.
looks like we haven't added a lot more people in. So, um, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Scientific Team Manager Read Through, Read Aloud. And we're so excited to have you here and to help clarify, questions that you may have. I'm going to hand it over to Chandler. My name is Susan Lee, and I'm the affiliate challenge master for Texas for the Scientific Challenge. And I'm going to hand it over to Chandler.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Susan. And my name is Chandler Sebeck. I'm the regional challenge master for the scientific challenge in the Gulf Coast region. So we're really excited to host you guys tonight. Susan has an amazing presentation laid out that will help you walk through all stages and areas of the challenge. Just a kind of few meeting housekeeping notes. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to put those in the chat. I will be monitoring those and compiling those, and we'll ask Susan as we kind of go through so she can answer those questions. You can range from anything from challenge related questions to if you have tournament questions and day of how a tournament works. Susan and I are well versed in the DI world, and we're happy to answer those for you. If there are anything solution specific questions, we aren't able to necessarily answer those for you, and do ask that you turn to the DI forums or somewhere of that nature to pose those questions. But with that, we're really excited to provide this training to you guys. And like I said, any questions, feel free to ask away in the chat. It'll be open and I'll be monitoring. And with that, Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
Wonderful. So if you have a copy of the challenge with you, you can go ahead and, open up your challenge. I have a presentation, but really I have just followed along with the actual challenge itself in my presentation. So I would have mine out so you can highlight and mark up if you have one with you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so we are starting Unforgettable, which seems to be a wonderful challenge, all about memory and about the human brain. And as I stated, I'm Susan Lee, and Chandler will be manning the chat for us. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. So Unforgettable challenge in itself has four actual scoring breakdown parts. Our first one is our story. The next one is our memory depiction. And then we have a misdirection, as well as the ones that we love, our team choice elements. I'm also going to have a scoring breakdown in there as well, and we're going to talk about tournament data forms and a little interference later on. Okay, so this is just kind of a breakdown overall. So when we're approaching our challenge, we want to make sure that we focus on the challenge and use this and have the kids read through it multiple times before you get it even started, and do have them underline the musts and the can'ts and the everything that you know that you need in different colors. It's very helpful. All challenge requirements must be met. So when you go through and you underline them, know that all of those things that are required, especially the ones that are checked with green marks, those are part of the scoring and they are required. To solve the challenge, your teams must read and follow it in its entirety. Our team budget, we're actually really excited. They've raised it. We've only had 150. So now we have 175, seeing as, the cost of everything go up. And so it is nice that they've raised it $25. We still have 8 minutes or less for our time limit. And that includes our setup. That includes the children setting up their set and the performance. Also your tournament data forms. The teams must explain the elements of the challenge solutions in their data forms. And then the check mark icons, like I said, are your pinpoint elements. All right, so I'm going to move on straight into the story. All right, so Unforgettable, our storyline. So in Unforgettable, we're supposed to research the science of human memory, including, but not limited to, how humans encode, store, retrieve, and visualize information. We create and present a story about how at least one character recalling at least one memory leads to a realization. So if you notice in the bottom, I've put like a little diagram. So it says character or characters, so you can have more than one character, but it has to be at least one, memory or memories, and then just one realization. So we're going to move, or one realization will be scored. So I'm going to say for this challenge, a memory is an event or an experience that is remembered from one character's perspective. The event or the experience that is remembered but may be as specific or as general as your team chooses. If your team presents more than one memory, the memories may be presented in any order or at the same time. All memories presented will contribute to your team score for 4A1. And if you notice down there, I've put down the actual scoring from the scoring rubric that talks about the creativity of the story, but we're going to go over that later. Any questions at this time right now, Chandler?
Nope, nothing yet. All good.
Good. All right. For this challenge, a realization is a lesson, change in perspective, and or new understanding of something significant. Your team may decide whether the character who recalls the memory or another character has the realization. Your team may include more than one realization in the story. However, only one realization will earn points for 4A3. So any character can have that realization, not just the one that had the memory, but only one realization will be scored for that part of the challenge. Also, we want to integrate your team's research about the science of human memory into the presentation. The story may be set in any location, real or imaginary, and in any time periods, past, present, or future. And it must include the research about human memory. All right, so I think that's all about our story. Do we have any questions?
I don't see anything coming through just yet, but if anybody has any questions about story, please feel free to put them in the chat. I know one of the big things that stands out to me, Susan, is human memory is a big portion I'm seeing here kind of throughout the theme of the story and the challenge. So keyword on the human part.
Right. The research must be about it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to show you right here. It talks about the breakdown of the scoring. So the creativity of the story, it includes but it's not limited to how at least one character recalling at least one memory leads to realization. A story is more creative when there's novel development of a storyline and characters. Also, your clear and effective storytelling. So your presentation must have a beginning, middle, and end, and that makes it more effective in your storytelling. The dramatic impact of the realization, how the realization enhanced the story in a dramatic and interesting way and memorable way. Also, your human memory research, how well it's integrated into the science of human memory and how well you do it into your presentation as a whole.
And Susan, I actually just got a question about that. So the
Okay.
question is, the memory research has to be the main part of the story, not just a small part.
Well, it does talk about how, you get your points based on your integration into your storyline. So I would, it talks about how much, but I can't tell you how much you need to integrate in that, but you do need to have it integrated into your storyline.
Perfect. And that's all I have at the moment. So I'll keep you posted.
Okay, great. All right, so now we're going to talk about our memory depiction. It says create and present a memory depiction. For this challenge, a memory depiction is a scene or part of a scene that shows one memory as it's visualized and or remembered by one character. If the memory depiction shows more than one memory and or is visualized and or remembered by more than one character, your team may receive an illegal procedure deducted for 4B12. If it also says if it's too brief, your team score may be lowered or affected for 4B as well. So I'm going to move on. The memory shown in the memory depiction may be as simple or as complex as your team chooses. Your team may include more than one memory depiction. This includes, but not limited to, other memory depictions from the same character's perspective and or other memory depictions from a different character's perspective. However, only one memory depiction will earn points for 4B. Your team may choose when the memory depiction happens and how long the memory depiction lasts. However, if the memory depiction is too brief, your team score for 4B may be affected. It says special effects. Include a special effect that enhances your memory depiction. For this challenge, a special effect uses technical methods to create a visible and audible effect or audible effect. For this challenge, technical methods refer to the use of principles in fields such as chemistry, computer science, electricity, hydraulics, mathematics, mechanical engineering, physics, structural engineering, or other technical fields are also acceptable. The special effect must be presented during the memory depiction. If the special effect is not presented during the memory depiction, your team may receive an illegal procedure deduction for 4B4.
And Susan, I have another question for you here. So the memory, the main one is being for scoring purposes, can only be remembered by one character, correct?
The memory depiction. So multiple characters, you can have multiple memories and multiple characters, but for the depiction that you've chosen, that depiction can only be part of one memory and one character.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to go back to, it says your team will earn points for technical design and technical innovation based on all your technical methods used or attempted during the presentation to initiate, to operate, and or to produce the special effect. If the technical methods are not successful, your team will still earn points for the technical design and the technical innovation of the methods used in the attempt. Your team's score for technical and design and theatrical effects may be affected. And so it says you have to design and build all of your special effects using your own ideas and skills. Your team may incorporate commercially produced items, but for scoring, the appraisers will only consider your team's changes and or additions to these items. Technical methods using less direct team manager involvement may earn more points for technical design and technical innovation than methods that have more direct team member involvement. So if you're looking at the scoring for that, it talks about the dramatic impact of your memory depiction. And it talks about this means your memory depictions enhanced your story in a dramatic and interesting and memorable way. The technical design for your special effects, it's the results of your planning and how you carry out and how you accomplish the task. A high quality design shows planning is effective, efficient, and reliable. And then your technical innovation and your special effect. Technical innovations includes how new, how unique, original, creative the methods are for carrying out your accomplishment of your task. Theatrical effect of the special effect. This means that the special effect enhanced the memory depiction in a dramatic, interesting, and or memorable way.
Susan, real quick, going back to that, another question for you. Can you walk through and explain kind of team members' involvement for the technical design and kind of how that works?
Are they saying just how the team comes up with the technical design?
Yeah, just I guess how the team comes up, how the team member involvement is in the for the technical design. If you go back, I think at one slide. Here we go. Yep, technical design and build. It's the first one, I believe. Design and build all parts. Yeah, just walk through that one more time.
So we're talking. It starts to talk about like if you had like if you bought something on Amazon and you just use that, that would not be team member involvement because you just purchased that. The appraisers can't give that a score because none of the innovation and design was done by the team members. Now, you could buy bases of something and take each piece and put them together and create a new design, and the team members all have to come together and design something different and new, and that will earn more points because we can only appraise what the team has changed, modified, created on their own. Does that give a little bit?
Yeah, that's perfect. And then can you walk through the second box again one more time too?
Sure. So when we're talking about how much involvement a team has to, when you're performing the play, when you're performing your 8-minute skit, the less a team member has to touch something or move something or physically be part of that could earn more points because it takes more technical design to have less contact with something that's working. Does that kind of?
Yeah, I think that hits on what we were kind of getting at. Yeah. Okay. I think that gives some good examples there. Right. Another question for you coming in through the chats is, so for scoring purposes of the special effects, it's kind of a two-pronged question. One, double checking, will only one special effect earn points? And that if that special effect involves visuals and sound, does that count as two special effects or is that still one?
It's anything that creates that special effect. So if the team has created something that takes multiple things to create because a special effect, especially on Broadway and in theater, like we just finished a play, are created with light and sound and everything together. So to create that special effect, if they built something that had all of these things incorporated in it to make it one, which would be a great dramatic effect, then that is one special effect. But that special effect, you have to put on your tournament data form what it includes, everything that it uses, and it can only be for that one memory depiction. So that special effect has to happen in the memory depiction that you put down on your tournament data form. Now, does that mean that you cannot do another special effect to add to your performance? No, of course you can. But The one that we're scoring is the one that you put down for your actual depiction.
Perfect. No, that answers the question greatly. And you hit exactly what I was thinking with the tournament data form, which I know for everybody here, we will get into tournament data forms here in just a little bit. And I think that'll help make sense of how we as appraisers learn about the performance before it actually happens. So no, all good. Feel free to keep on going.
All right. So we talk about our research. So research psychology and the art of misdirection. So now we're going into a special. We're going to do misdirection. And we're going to research the psychology and the art of misdirection in a live performance. This includes, but not limited to, change blindness, force techniques, limited attention span, memory bias, perceptual expectations, fallacy bias, selective attention, social cues, and visual masking. Include a misdirection for this challenge. A misdirection is used for one or more theatrical effects to draw attention to one thing in order to distract from something else. Your team may use any theatrical techniques to create this misdirection, including, but not limited to, acting, blocking, color, lighting design, sound, staging, and technology. Your team may choose when the misdirection happens and how long the misdirection lasts. However, if the misdirection is too short or too brief, your team scores may be affected. If we have any questions about the misdirection, I'm going to keep going though. So your team may include more than one misdirection in the presentation. However, only one misdirection will earn points for 4C. The misdirection should be visible and or audible from 25 feet away. The special effect and the misdirection must not be part of one another. However, they may happen in any order or at the same time. So if we look at the scoring, so our misdirection scoring is the creative use of theatrical techniques to create the misdirection and the theatrical effect of the misdirection. It means how it enhances the presentation in a dramatic, interesting, or memorable way. Do we have any questions about the misdirection?
No questions thus far. So all good on the misdirection side, and on to my favorite element of any and every challenge.
Team choice elements. Awesome. Okay, so team choice elements. They are two creations that must be presented that show off the team's interest, skills, talents. They must be presented during your performance. The team choice element may not be specific items that are already being evaluated and scored. And I'm going to stop on this real quick and we're going to talk about this. We call this double dipping. So what that means is whenever you lay out and the kids lay out all their challenge, anything that is already being scored cannot be used as a team choice element. So think a lot of people say the creativity of our story. We put so much time and creativity in our story, but the story is already being scored in the top part of the challenge. Or the technical, talk about not our misdirection, but the
special effect.
The special effect. So the special effect, you could say, oh, well, we worked so hard on the technical design and we spent forever coming up with how the so-and-so worked together and how we spent hours soldering and all of these different things. Those skills and those are the actual special effect is already being scored. That being said, if anything around the special effect that's not a technical design, it can be scored if it can be a standalone item. But you will really have to be detailed on the tournament data form. Like, we would like you to score this as our team choice element, and it is not part of this. So we need it to be very clear. So when we are up there, we only have a short amount of time. So we don't have to ask you that question. We'll know exactly what we're supposed to score. Okay, let's go back here. Can it be evaluated alone as a standalone item? The team choice element will be scored based on your creativity, the quality, the workmanship, and the effort. And there's 2 team choice elements, and the kids love to come up with their team choice elements. We as team managers love to see what they think is their most special thing, because sometimes it's this little bitty thing and you're like, but they think it's amazing. So this is how it's scored. So there's 2 team choice elements that are scored on creativity, originality, workmanship, quality, and how well that team choice element is integrated into the presentation. All right. So here's the overall scoring rubric, and it's everything that I had split into smaller details. And y'all have a copy of this in your challenge as well. And it says right here, all of our scores are subjective. And so what that means is we don't have anything that it either does happen or doesn't happen. It's all based on what we see as appraisers. So that's why it's extremely important that you put your details in your tournament. The kids have all that stuff in their tournament data forms. And I just said the central challenge makes up 240 points and the team choice element is 60 points. And the instant challenge makes up 100 points. So that's completely different.
Perfect. And then we do have one question real quick, Susan,
Okay.
in the chat for the misdirection section. If we go back, or for the misdirection theatrical effect, can acting be a part or only technical innovation? Is that only accepted?
Well, if you look at the misdirection, it talks about it talks about, if you look at the bottom, it says theatrical effects that draw your attention away from one thing to another thing. So it doesn't really talk about technical designs in the misdirection. So it talks about different kinds of styles and acting styles like change blindness. And I would have them, your students go, you can have them have a day where they're online and they are looking at misdirection and what change blindness is and what force techniques are. And that'll give them a real understanding of what they need to do for the misdirection or what kind of cool things there are out there. But looking at the challenge myself, I don't see anything that says it's just technical. It's theatrical.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. The technical is more the special effects. That's your technical. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you if there's, and if you come up with questions, just go ahead and ask. But I'm gonna show you, for those of you that are new or those of you, that aren't, but the tournament data forms and what they look like. And you have access to these, and these will need to be filled out online by your students before we go in, and there's actually due dates for these. And then once your prep appraisers read through them, they'll have a chance to be able to send through the message questions if they're not clarified. And so make sure you're looking for those, because a lot of times I think sometimes they'll just submit the paper and be like, I'm done. But make sure, because we do look through all of them and send them back if we have any questions. Okay, so this first sheet here is more, just talks about your expense report. Make sure you have everything there. And down here, it does have a brief description of your 2 team choice elements. And again, really look into those and make sure, have the kids, really look and say, is this already being scored? And if you can take that team choice element and look at the scoring elements, take it away and make sure that it's not already there, then you're good to go. But we'll look at them too. All right. So here is really the really important part, because each one of those breaks up into, and I don't know if y'all can see it, but you should have it. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you could zoom in just a hair, but I think we'll be good.
If I can.
Perfect. That's great.
Okay. So it says, briefly describe your story and how at least one character recalling at least one memory leads to a realization. So this you could do like a real brief explanation they can of their story, but really here we're asking for that one memory that leads to that one or that one character that has the one memory that leads to that one realization. That's the information we need to see. So when our appraisers are reading it, going, okay, we're looking for this memory, this realization, and this character. So we got it. Then we talk about briefly describe our realization. What is the lesson, the change in perspective, and the new understanding? So in here, we're just asking you what is the realization? What are we going to see? Sometimes kids will even put like the line. We said this line, and that is our portion. This is how we started. If you think, or if the kids think that it may not be clear, sometimes it's nice to have that. Number 3, briefly describe how your team's integrated research about the science of human memory into the presentation. So say, however y'all research, whatever research y'all use in the challenge, we don't need like the whole printout, but just what the main points are. We researched about this part of the brain and what it does, and this is how this is what we used in our main skit to talk about our story. Briefly describe your memory depiction. What one memory is shown in the memory depiction, and this is important because say you have multiple memories in your skit. Well, it clearly says that you can only have your memory depiction on one of your memory. So we need to make sure, be detailed. This was the memory that we want scored in our memory depiction, and as well as it has to be this one character. So this character has this memory in this depiction, and that's so helpful that it's very clear. And identify the one character. So if you have 3, you can't, kid in the lab coat. If you have 3 kids in a lab coat, we're, so please be very detailed. And then it talks about your special effect, briefly describe it. How does the special effect use technical methods to enhance your memory depiction? There's a whole list on the special effects that talks about the details. It talks about all the different technical methods like the chemistry, the mathematics, the science. It's very helpful if the kids, especially if they do a couple, but, we used mathematics, or we used chemical engineering, or we used mechanical engineering to create this, and this. And that's what I was saying. If you use multiple pieces, the lighting effect, the sound effect, that really helps.
Hey, Susan, we have one more question for you coming through.
Yeah.
So the question is, does the team need to use some jargon/professional verbiage to indicate that this is their research when explaining the integration of research? / do they need to cite the source in doing this?
No, I mean, they don't need to say, as it says in the, I found this on this website. They don't, not during the presentation. Now, if they want to add that, we had some teams that will like add a sheet. Well, it's kind of hard now because we don't have paper, but they can say, we found this. But mostly, if it's integrated and it talks about all of the different research, or if it just mentions different things that us as appraisers can look into. We're not scientists, but you can tell when something's researched and looked into. And if it's just and it doesn't have to be, standing up and giving a whole, encyclopedia. So we don't have to do it like that.
Perfect. And then we do have another question coming through. So memory research can be part of the dialogue.
However y'all want to integrate it into the story, it can, it's up to the kids how they want to show their research. We've had some that but it talks about how well it's integrated. So if you look up how to integrate something into it, how can we tell something's well integrated into something else? If they can use it at any part of their story, their performance, their set pieces, anything can be can show how they researched their about human memory. So anything they want to add into their skit.
Perfect. Thank you. And then one more question here coming through. This one's actually about something we have not touched on, which is the rules of the road. So I read the rules of the road and just need confirmation that alkaline batteries, which are just your AA or AAA, do not need to be included in the expense report.
I would, if you say, if it's on the rules of the road, you can actually go online and do a clarification with International DI and ask them, but also, and you can put in cite in there, you know, where you found it in the rules of the road, and this is what it said, is this clear? But if it does say in the rules of the road, and you can cite exactly where it says that it does not have to be cost. I know there are a lot of things that can be considered exempt. And we really didn't touch on expense report this year, but expense report is extremely important because a lot of times people group things like clothing. They don't cost the clothing. Everything needs a fair gross sale cost. So but there are some things like audio visual, and especially since we're doing special effects, things like audio visual that are borrowed computers, all of that, I would definitely go back in there and reread all of the rules of the road when it comes to expense report and what is exempt and what is not exempt. And when you're doing the expense report, make sure that they list what they need. And the best practice we've done is every time the kids go to the store and buy something, it gets listed on a sheet. All the receipts need to be put because we need, you know, we ask for uploaded receipts. So keep them in a little zip bag. Whatever you don't use later on, they can mark off the expense report, you know, as they keep going until you have the final expense report at the end. But definitely run through. And if you found that in there, but if you're not sure or if you're worried about it, I would send in a clarification.
One more question for you too with regards to memory depiction. So for the memory depiction, it has to be one memory by one character. Does that mean that the memory depiction can have only that character in the scene, or can there be different characters participating in the scene?
I would say if it doesn't say you can't, you can. That's our DI thing. What it does say is the memory has to be one person has that memory. It's that one memory, that one character, but it doesn't say how that memory is realized, how that memory is done. That is a creative beauty that y'all can do, and the kids can do anything they want with, as long as it's shown that was that one character's memory.
Perfect. Thank you. That is all the questions I have in the chat for now, but keep them coming, everybody, if there's more questions.
So the last question talks about briefly describe your misdirection. How does misdirection use theatrical techniques to draw attention from one thing in order to distract from something else? And how will the appraisers know when the misdirection happens? And this is where we're talking about being literal. So I know that a lot of times teams don't want us to know because they want it to be a surprise. But sometimes the surprise is so much of a surprise, we don't see it. So make sure that the teams, you know, actually put in, this is when our misdirection happens. We used, that's what all those lists of all those theatrical techniques, sleight of hand. I mean, even all of these magical things you think about that they could use. And to draw attention, and also make sure you tell us, the appraisers will know when this character says boo, or however we can see it, because we only get that certain amount of time to see it. And we want to make sure you get all the scores you can, because that's why we're here to appraise. We're here to praise those kids. So that's all of the questions that are on the tournament data form about that. But then it goes in and it talks about your use of AI, because AI is out there and so prevalent and can be used. And so you'll need to go in there, and the kids will need to go, okay, so how did we use AI? Did we use it for skills or inspiration? And if you didn't, wonderful. And then just if they didn't use it at all, that's fantastic. But if they did, just make sure they fill out that form as well. And then this is just our follow-up, how we imagine the creative process, how they recognize, how they started the process, how they use their imagination to come up with their final solution to the problem. How did they collaborate and get everything going? And then they stepped back and assessed it afterwards, and then they evaluated and celebrated how well they did.
Perfect. Susan, we do have a couple questions coming back in. Two questions. I'm going to do the second one first, which is
Okay.
with regards to AI. What type of AI can we use? Are our teams allowed to use?
So it talks about, I mean, you have to think about also when we go into our scientific elements and we look into that, when you buy something at Amazon and it's already built, right? That gets no points. So if the students go onto AI and everything is done for them because they type in, these and they use AI in that way, that pulls away from the team's creativity, which is why we're here. They're not saying that you can't, when we used to have libraries, we used to have to go research in libraries, or when we go on Google now, I mean, Google came in and you would have to search a little longer. Please show us these theatrical effects. Now with AI, you can go in and you can say, please give me a list of all the theatrical effects that enhance a performance that are easy. Well, if they put those in and then all of these come up, you're still having to go in there and they're still having to research. So, I mean, we can't say that you can't do it that way, but just know that the more you use it, the less of the solution is the student solution, and it's more creative, and that takes away the creativity, that takes away the child's, everything they come up with, because they're amazing. They're way better than any AI. They
Yeah.
are.
Big difference of asking AI to help you find research about the
Yeah,
human memory versus write a script for me.
exactly.
So, perfect. Another question for you here. This one's about the realization. So, kind of back at the very beginning. So, this question is, can the realization be done by another character, or can another character help the main character with the realization?
It doesn't say, well, it doesn't say you can, but it does say here, that, I'm trying to see, um, it says your team may decide whether the character who recalls the memory or another character has the realization. So the main character, your main character, it says it can be any character who has that realization. So it does not have to be the character that's in that memory depiction or anything. So it says another character can have that realization.
Perfect. No more questions at the moment, but if you want to keep going, I know there might be some stuff here at the end that you wanted to touch on.
Yes, there is. So down here, I talk about your interference triangle. So it talks about our triangle. We talk about that we have skills. The foundation of anything is teaching skills to kids. And then our challenge rules and regulations. So you as a team manager are, encouraged to teach skills. And as a team manager myself, we wouldn't even open the challenge and we would have skills camps. I know a lot of districts offer skills camps. They offer acting camps and building camps. I had a great dad who would open up a shop and then the kids let him go and they would learn how to do all the stuff before they even touched the challenge. And then, because you can teach the skills, what you can't do is you can't say, you know what, if you learned how to sew, you could make this costume for this character. If they ask you, hey, can you teach me how to sew? Yes, that's wonderful. Now, can you teach them how to sew on the costume? No, they can learn on something else, and then they have to come up with the creation, the ideas. But yes, please teach them that. I mean, the last thing I had second graders using box cutters and all different things for PVC pipe cutters. But you need to be there, and you need to be there to monitor. I can't tell you how many times I've lifted tushies and moved them over while they were cutting toward. No, don't cut toward yourself, you know. So yes. But again, we did have some teams that have built these massive things, and the kids put them in, and we know that if they can't do it in these huge pieces, make sure that it's something that they can do. And if they try and they can't, that's how we overcome adversity. So, and then they come up with something that's even cooler. Um, and so here I talked about encourage their skills gaps. Sometimes their skills, yeah, sometimes we would do a skill evaluation before we even started too. Okay, here's a sheet. Tell us what your skills are. Some can sing, some can do violin, some already know how to solder, some are in robotics. So that's great to get together and say, what do you do? You know, how can you help? And what can you bring and contribute to our challenge? It's awesome because they're so cute. Um, and the challenge rules, it is you can sit down with them and go, you know, have them go over the challenge, and you can help them carefully read through it, underline everything, uh, facilitate the discussion, just kind of like we are here today. Um, and you can guide them through analyzing the challenge, brainstorming, but you can't brainstorm. You can stand in front of the board and they can shout out ideas, and you can write those ideas down, and then keep them up. And then, you know, they can start striking them down when they decide they don't want it. And like I did today, review the scoring criteria, and clarify the rules. What does the challenge say? What about the rules of the road? Always have copies of those with you. The published clarifications, we know that they can't go online and look at published clarifications, but you can. And encourage discussion. I mean, it's so much fun. Also with Instant Challenge, and I can't, you know, press this enough. A lot of those skills that you teach in Instant Challenge, because you can teach them those skills, they carry over into their main challenge. So it's wonderful to practice both of those. Competition day. Are there any questions about skills or anything?
Nope, nope, nothing there. I think this is the last point. So I'm going to let Susan talk about competition day. But if you have any questions over anything we've talked about today, please put them in the chat. Or if I've missed your question, please feel free to bring that to the front of the chat so I can ask Susan for you. And Susan, I'll let you talk about competition day. It's our last little topic here before we wrap it up.
Right. So competition day is amazing. You're going to have kids that are nervous. They're going to be getting all their stuff together, but it's their time to showcase how hard they worked, and what so much that they learned. So much, you know, it's hard for them not to get excited about maybe advancing. But really, the more you just tell them this is a celebration and let's celebrate today, and look at, you know, you're here to show them all these months of hard work. This is our day. This is what we're doing. And I can't tell you how hard it is to monitor interference on that day, because you've spent months standing back and not interfering. But parents, it's so hard for parents not to want to fix something that falls off, or put their hair up and take them to the bathroom and fix their hair. And as a team manager, sometimes I would just pull my kids off and say, you know, parents, this is awesome, you know, let's just clap. But just make sure before the tournament day that you clarify with parents that, you know, there are people walking around the tournament. There are people that are looking for that. And it's just very important for you to step back, as hard as it is not to have a panic attack. I know, because it's happened where things fall off. Make sure you have the kids ready. They need you can pack a whole repair kit for them, anything that they would need, that, you know, but you can't tell them, hey, this needs to be fixed, but, you know, have those things there for them so they can say, oh, this broke, I need this, and they go get it. Let's say as a team manager, you'll have so much to juggle. Communicate with parents, make sure, I talked about that they're not allowed to interfere. It talks about, you know, encourage the kids when they're struggling or family. It's okay, but they learn valuable lessons. And then I go back and I say, please note that there will be points deducted if interference is observed during the tournament. Um, we hate saying that stuff, but it is real. And it's, unfortunately, our kids work so hard, and it's hard for us as parents and team managers not to just let them go and be free. But it's also very rewarding for them. Any other questions? We're so excited for this season. And we think this is going to be a really cool challenge. I can't wait to see all of the stuff that we see and all of the special effects. I'm a theatrical person, so that to me sounds so cool.
Yeah. Susan, I do have one more question for you with regards to interference here. Can parents help the team move their props into the prep area?
Um, yeah, parents can actually help them move their props into the prep area. We just make sure that they just lift and put down. If I know some teams have to box things up before they bring them, it's okay for the parents to unbox them, especially if they're screwed in, and they can even move them out. Just if there's any damage, the kids will have to fix those. They can even move them into, or really the team manager can help move them into our launch area. But really, we like it for the kids to do it. So if the kids can do it, then that's actually great. After the kids perform, we encourage, after the appraisers talk to the kids, the team managers will be waiting for their sticky notes. I know at state we're still doing sticky notes. Some of the other regions may not. They may just do digital sticky notes. So
We do them in Gulf Coast, that's for sure.
You do the digital ones.
Oh no, 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 no. You know me,
Oh,
Susan. I'm a paper
I
sticky
know
note
you're
kind
a
of
paper
guy.
person. So are we. We're paper too. So we'll have our team managers wait so the kids can get those sticky notes because they love those. But we encourage parents to help move them out because we're going to be rushing the next group in. So once we're done with questions, we love that. We love the help. But also make sure, I know we're all anxious the minute they get out of the room to scream and yell. We like them to move down a little bit. Then y'all can have your celebration because we have another team that's about to perform coming right up.
Perfect. Yep. I always like to say the kids are the conductors when it comes to moving stuff in. And especially from a safety standpoint too. If elementary schoolers are having a little trouble moving their stuff, parents can definitely help them, but parents and team managers should never be telling the kids where stuff goes. The kids should be telling the parents where to put everything. So
I also have
perfect.
one. I do have one thing, but
Yeah.
sometimes you have to be careful that, and this is as a team manager that you have to be a conductor. You have some parents that the kids have practiced their script so much they know the words, and if they sit on the front and they sit there and they mouth the words, just make sure you can be like, if you have to, just cover your mouth because sometimes you do that too.
We have another quick question. I know we didn't dive too much into this, but just regards to interference in the expense report. So
Mhm.
the expense report needs to be figured out and done by the kids also, correct?
Yes. Well, yes. So all of the stuff that they use, you as a team manager can help facilitate that. Um, but definitely, they can, you could say, well, did you, they have the tape, they have the roll of tape. And again, that's not interference because it's not part of the actual challenge. So you as a team manager can go in there and say, okay, did we use this and that kind of stuff? Because again, interference has to do with the actual solution. And if they're working on correct me if I'm wrong, Chandler, is that how you believe?
No, that's exactly how I would frame it. So the expense report isn't being scored.
No.
So, and I've had a lot of parents ask the same question with tournament data forms. Sometimes for our appraisers, having a kid fill that out in their handwriting might be a little bit more difficult to read a third grader's handwriting than it is an adult's handwriting. So, it's always good for, like Susan talked about earlier, with things like the tournament data forms and the expense reports, that as a team manager, if you facilitate those conversations, and those are, like we said, are not scored elements either. So,
Yeah, just like
that's the best way to frame it.
Yeah, the team sign's not a scored element as well. So
Hmm.
sometimes I've had teams freak out because they've left their sign behind, and I'm like, no, don't worry about it. And a lot of them will spend so much time to set it up, but that is not a scored item. So
Hmm.
just encourage them. Yeah, we're looking at the scored items for interference.
Agreed. Not nobody's going to get docked for forgetting a team sign. We'll know who you are. Don't worry.
Right.
So perfect. Well, I'm gonna give it a few minutes here to if anybody else has any other questions to put in the chat, please feel free to do so. And we can get those answered for you. I know Susan and I will stick around for a little bit for any last minute questions. But Susan, did you have any last words or kind of anything to wrap it up?
No, I just said we're so excited that you guys are here. It's a total different challenge. It's always a different challenge every year, but sometimes they're alike. But last year's compared to this year's is totally different. Back with our brain and more scientific in the human body, human situation. But we're excited. I'm excited to see it.
Yay, perfect. Well, thank you, everybody. Susan and I will hang around here for a little bit. We appreciate you guys coming and spending an hour of your evening with us to learn a little bit more of the challenge. Of course, we'll stick around here to answer any other follow-up questions, but thank you guys for attending and coming out. Oh, Susan, I do have a question that just came in through the chat here. Is it possible to give examples of team choice elements that teams have done?
I can do general. So I can just do general things. Backdrops sometimes if they're not being scored or often use
Costumes,
costumes that are not being scored or
original songs are a big one.
songs, dances, if
Mhm.
they play instruments, just sometimes paintings, artwork, things like that. Anything. I mean, the kids, it's so funny to hear what, like I had one little gun or something that wasn't a real gun. It was like a laser thing that they built, but it was tiny and they loved it. And so they used that. It just anything that is
Yeah,
not being scored.
perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you. Like I said, Susan and I will hang out here for a little bit, but any last questions, put them in the chat and we'll hang out. But you guys are more than welcome to go. Thanks for joining us this evening. Perfect. We got another question coming in, Susan. If the kids use one of their own artwork, how do I put that in the expense form?
It wouldn't be, it would just be the materials they use to make it. So markers, and those go in general supplies, paint, markers, canvas, that they need to have a cost for what it took to create their original artwork, but you don't have to have a cost for the artwork.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Feel free to bring them in. But if not, you guys are more than welcome to head out. I know it's already getting late this evening, and with the time change, it gets even darker earlier now.
It does. Feels like it's so late.
I know it does. It does.
This is being recorded, and I think there
Mhm.
is a link that's going to be shared for those of you that needed to see it or have it.
Yep, exactly. We have another one coming in. Can team choice elements be used as props or is it only scoring elements? I believe I read that right. Can team choice elements be used as a props or is it only scoring elements? I think the question is asking, can team choice elements be props? Um, which yeah, yes, team choice elements can be props as long as they're not a part of something that's already being scored, such as the special effect or the memory depiction. So if it's a standalone item, it can be a team choice element.
Mhm.
And let me know if that answered the question.
A lot of times they are props.
Yeah, a lot of times, yeah, I was just saying most of the times they are props. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, most of the time they are props, song and dance. We get a lot. Costumes is a big one. Backdrops. I know you'd said that one, Susan.
Mhm. Yeah, sometimes they even do the acting style of a student, like if
Mhm.
somebody has an accent, but those are hard to evaluate because that's based on one student. So,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we are very excited for another season. So, and like Susan said, this will be recorded. So um, feel free to view the recording later on. I know this will be sent out to everybody as well.
I hope you'll all have a great night
Mhm.
and a wonderful holiday season.
Yes, be safe too. I know, and you guys are probably halfway through this DI season, so I can imagine you're getting stressed already, especially with all the kiddos going around and running around. So you guys are doing the real work, the hard stuff.
And stay healthy.
Yes, yes.
Take vitamins.
Big time, big time. especially this time of year.
I know everybody's getting sick.
I know. That's my big thing. I want to make sure I stay good for the holidays.
Hmm. Take care. Thank you so much, Linda.
Yep. Have a good nice holiday. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.